replicates high altitude training. Basically the science behind it won the Nobel Peace Prize back in 2019 when scientists that were working on cells in a petri dish in the laboratory worked out that if the lungs become a much more efficient part of the anatomy and can oxygenate the body much more efficiently, then you as a human become so much more efficient on every aspect of your being. So your endocrine system, your lymphatic system, your neurological system, your immune system all become uber alert and much more efficient. And the manner in which it works is simple. It teaches the lungs to be more efficient with less. In other words, when you're at altitude, there's less oxygen. So that's why when people who live at sea level go up to high altitude, they've got to wear oxygen masks and actually drip feed oxygen in, otherwise we literally can't function. But they notice that the people that live up there are extremely healthy and they don't require those oxygen bottles in order to function. So that's how they've come up with the concept. So the machine gradually delivers less and less air, and it's just normal air. Like at the minute when you breathe, as I'm breathing now in the room, you've got 22.9% oxygen. The machine will begin at perhaps delivering 15 to 12% maybe, depending on the feedback from the pulse oximeter, and it will mess about with that, and gradually over a prescribed period of time will reduce the amount of air it delivers into the mask. But this is the key bit. It does it based on the feedback from the pulse oximeter. In other words, it's determining how your body's reacting and dealing with the work, and that's what determines how much oxygen it actually delivers into the mask. And at the end of the day, the idea is we want to reduce the amount of air we're delivering to you. Initially, you get a spike in your heart rate because your body panics thinking, wow, I've not got enough air here, so we need to get it around the body much more efficiently and quicker. But gradually in time, it starts to realise that if we actually make each heartbeat stronger, the heart becomes more efficient. If we clean up the actual venous system, then the blood can flow much more efficiently. So therefore, with each beat, we drive the blood around the body much more efficiently, so therefore everything's getting oxygenated much more efficiently. But the second thing that's very clever, and this is where it becomes particularly good for the body, it teaches the body to get rid of all of the waste products from the lungs. Whereas most people at sea level have approximately 2/3 of the lungs full of stuff that the body's trying to get rid of. This keeps you in an alkaline state. This teaches the body to get rid of all of the waste product. In doing that, it turns the body into a more alkaline state. But this then drives inflammation from your entire anatomy, up to and including around your brain. That's amazing. You think about how many conditions have an inflammatory response. So if you take me, for example, I've got arthritic knees through sport-related injuries over the years. My pain levels have dropped through the floor. I'm not fixed, but I'm in a much better condition because I can move around virtually pain-free. You know, my wife had a bowel condition, ulcerative colitis. That's an inflammatory response. All of her symptoms have gone purely by teaching the body how to be more efficient with oxygen through getting the lungs to be a better and more efficient part of the anatomy.